inspiring entrepreneurs to rise, innovate, and create lasting impact. And today I have my special guest. He's the founder of ModsNation, a core community, and configurator, and founder of Arvion Bauhaus, custom Porsche 911, and Muscle Heart Auto Design House, or Porsche, I should say. No other than Mr. Pete Polyakov.
Hey guys.
Welcome, Mr. Pete on Entrepreneurship 101. Can you please introduce more about yourself that I missed?
Absolutely. My name is Pete Polyakov. I'm a founder and CEO of ModsNation. It's a universal tuning configurator and car community. And also the Arvion Bauhaus. It's a automotive design house for Porsche 911 and muscle cars.
Yes, indeed. And thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. Mr. Pete, thank you. And today let's talk about being the founder and CEO of ModsNation and Arvion Bauhaus. So tell us, excavate the ModsNation story beyond this amazing company. What is all about? Why they are? What are the connection of these two company?
Well, about 6 years ago, I realized what people buying car parts and tuning parts for the cars without really seeing the final result. And it caused a bad fitment, bad choices, waste of money, and a lot of frustration with the brands because most of these choices usually based on the Photoshop prepped pictures. So, and I said, can I actually fix that for many, and actually even for myself? So at that point, we found ModsNation. It's a universal tuning configurator for car parts and all wheels, colors, and everything. And we had an idea about what we can actually cover any car and any tuning. And it's about 250,000 parts today and about 600 cars. What you can try and see, and make a wise choice before you pay money.
So, Mr. Pete, what do you mean by custom Porsche 911 and muscle car audio design house?
Well, that happened kind of as an accident because we participated in many expos like SEMA, auto salons, and because my background as an architect, I'm an architect and also car designer. So I decided to make a custom car to support ModsNation at the booth, and accidentally at the booth, uh, people start to ask who designed that. And from completely accident and supportive for all, our second company actually become, you know, quite major in our attention. And we started to design custom cars and produce custom body kits for cars. This is what happened, completely accident, but became a major.
Interesting, Mr. Pete. Your name carries heritage, and your companies carry the word nation and Bauhaus, a German school of radical functionality. How much of your identity as a founder is shaped by navigating between worlds?
Well, I always was focused on solving my own problems, and and then somehow it was useful for many others. So in that sense, both companies, they kind of like solving my own desires, and then somehow I just share it with other people, and people like it. So this is how it happens.
Interesting, Mr. Pete. You are the founder of Mods Nation. The press release announces you, but the weight of unifying fragmented communities are competing and legacy forums falls in your decisions. Where do you go when you don't know the answer and no one else the company can give it to you?
Well, uh, see, the thing is, over time, I collect like different knowledge from different areas of in life. Like I was involved in the film industry for many years, and then at a larger scale, advertisement companies and visual effects and architect and many others. And somehow, the luggage of knowledge what you have in the past, you would never imagine that being useful in the future. But then somehow in one day you just start to pick up little pieces, and you start to using them at whatever you focused at this point. So this is how it is. It's usually, it usually comes from like quite large experience in life. And then, if I don't know something, I just learn it. I read, learn, and, ask professional colleagues, their professional opinions. And sometimes, I'm getting really good advices.
Mm, certainly a good advice. So, at what specific moment did this transition from concept to company? Was it a quiet resignation email, a whiteboard argument, or sleepless night where the architecture of the whole platform arrived at once?
Well, usually it's when you work on something for yourself, and you really don't need any funding, you don't need any customers, you're just solving some problem. And when it's something really meaningful and impactful for many, I believe it starts to, like business becomes kind of an accident, is actually money too. So uh, with ModsNation, I just was solving my own problem because car tuning and racing is my passion. And I just was solving my own problem. But I was spending so much money on different tuning parts, and I was frustrated when I buy things and actually it's not the way how they look on the car, or they don't perform the way I expected. Uh, I solved my own problem, and then I solved the same problem for a few other friends, and then somehow it kind of ended up in a spot of attention. And the deeper you go on the problem, the more layers you solve, and then more and more and more and more people interested in what you do. For example, we never thought about what our project will be interesting for manufacturers. We thought like it's more like community, like a lot of fun. But then we realized what many factories having like serious issue when they produce parts, and they have, if they can predict at the series of parts what it more or less it will be sold, but when it comes to the single unit they never know. It's completely magic. And what we actually solve for these manufacturers, what they can test out their products before they will manufacture them. So they put the product on the platform, and then they see, how people behave, how they interact with the parts, do they pre-order or not, and then they make an actual decision. Is it worth to actually produce that and all at all? And then it like this is kind of like this from a little like personal project, that conversion from personal project to the business, it's all that kind of sort of accidental. And then the deeper you go, the more you discover. If it's a great foundation, then you solve in more and more and more and more problems for many business. I think this is how it happens. Just as long as you're useful for others, that becomes business today for sure.
A great foundation for sure. You inherit the core NCSS community scattered across Reddit threads, Facebook groups, and legacy forums. You did not just build a product, you attempted a consolidation of diaspora. What does unified nation actually owe its citizens that isolated tribes cannot provide?
Well, when I thought about word nation, I thought, maybe you even experienced it yourself. When you buy a car, it's kind of a new car, and you had previously you had another brand or another, like another model. What happens? You kind of feel yourself like a kid who was in a high school in one school, and then one day just kind of move to another, and you walk into the class and you don't know anyone. You say, hey, that's my name, right? And kind of the same thing what happens with the car community when you preferred one brand and one model back to the days, and then you change your preference, and then you walk into another community and say, hey, I just bought this car, hello. Because people in the car community, they like to feel belong. So that's kind of ended up in my head, and I said, why it should be like that? Why we should be divided? Can we actually be together when it comes like, do you do something to your car? Are you enjoying, like ownership of the car? Maybe you maintain it, the community and friendship. Uh, can something exist as a community when you don't need to change the crowd? And that's kind of part of the Mods Nation in a way. Yeah, it's still a little bit divided in a way from the regular folks who don't do anything to their cars. But if you change the bolt in your car, you're already part of the Mods Nation because you did something to that. So, and this is how we kind of start to see how people like we're driving BMWs, and then they now driving Audi or some Camaros, but they don't go anywhere. They still at the same place, and they still talk to the same people, and it's kind of like exciting because it's it unites people. So I'm happy we'll see some folks just meet together. We have even like few people who actually got married because our platform. So it was kind of unusual outcome, but I would say like this, o- overall value, is great, but just these few folks would got married together and actually having kids now. I'm like, wow, I actually put these people together accidentally, and that's really great. So that's kind of what Word Nation means for me. It's just people together.
Let's talk about the 1 billion gap. The aftermarket industry is valued at over $1 billion. Yet customers still rely on offline stores for advice. You have described this as a gap, but gaps persist for a reason. Why is this one of the remain unified for so long, and what made you believe you were the person to bridge it?
Well, I will probably surprise you, but the industry, only aftermarket tuning industry is a last year was roughly about 950 billions. It's not 1 billion, it's nine, it's almost trillion right now. So, and when I went to the industry, and it's never was like an intention, right? It was never was intention. It was mostly accidental. And when I ended up in the industry, I just started to meet more and more professionals who couldn't believe what we did. Uh, and it's not like it's kind of was completely opposite. I never had to prove anything. Just when professional people, seeing what exactly we're doing, they just would ask. Like I had only two questions. Like from regular folks, they always would ask, "Is my car there?" And from professional car industry entrepreneurs, I would usually hear the question, how can I be part of that? So I never really needed to prove anything or convert people, because it was obvious for businessmen when they for the brands, for example, some brands they liked more and others a little bit less. But part of the game, because when people having frustration with the parts, they blame the brand, but it's not really the brand, it's just their poor choices due to the lack of information. And when we provided that, we made it actually more like fair game. When people actually can see the parts before they making the purchase and spending their money, and that was quite impressive for many many brands. And then the community part. So we were surprised to meet really like big brands. I would say like AAA class brands, who would look at our project and say, "Well, listen, this is exactly what we needed in the past." So, and then like many collaborations of that sort, happen with big brands and manufacturers. This was absolutely insanity, because when they realized what they can save $10 to $20 million yearly just using that platform as a demand meter. You know, like I had to slow down everything. I said, guys, we cannot accept all of you for the pilot project. We only can get just few and just see how that works. And then maybe, like expand and maybe turn it into the like wider product. So it was kind of always opposite, therefore, no, never had a plan to do so, but it just the nature of what we started to do, brought more and more attention.
Mr. Pete, you are not the CEO of two entities. Do you see Arvion Bauhaus or sibling to ModsNation, a parent company, an experiment, or a completely separate nervous system? How do you divide your attention without dividing your vision?
So, as I told you before, Arvion was born as a support for mods because professional car community, they like custom cars, and for me, I had a little advantage versus many custom car brands because most of the owners of the custom car brands, they are former tuners. What that means, they actually think mostly in parts, and then this is how you see the difference between OEM design, when actual manufacturer produce design, and then you see like some custom shops, and there's some flows going on because mostly they think in parts. And for me as an architect, when we build a structure, we never think as just a building. We also kind of zoom out and see the entire composition, and it kind of created like a little advantage. And another subject why Arvion was born, because at some point when we just were starting, we wanted some manufacturers to be on the platform. And unfortunately, everyone is super busy. They love what you do, but they have no time. And I said, guys, and this was like about like 2022 or something like that. And I said, you know what? Actually, I think I need to become a manufacturer in order to understand how mods can help two manufacturers. So it was kind of like I had to become my own customer in order to make it work. And for me, I use mods heavily for my own business, because what happens when I design new shapes, I use ModsNation as an amazing tool where I can test it on the crowd. How do they like it? Are they, we produce, 10 shapes, maybe some custom bumpers, maybe some, custom wings and so on. And we just throw it on the platform. And versus to production, maybe what to produce a regular bumper costs between like 50 to $250,000, so 50,000 to $250,000. And it's not about production itself and tooling. It's mostly about produce it, send it out, and see what happens. And at that point, we definitely couldn't afford that. And then we said, how about just we will use ModsNation for that purpose, and kind of it's going to be like double win, which rare happens. So they so fused together, it's hard to divide them in that sense, because they interconnected and they help each other. But both of those my passions, so I don't know, I cannot probably divide them. Because as much as I want to divide them as a businesses, kind of like a little bit get my own freedom, but yeah, they're extremely interconnected. So probably no, I would not be able to kind of divide them apart. They are together.
Mr. Pete, speaking of interconnected, every founder leaves a fingerprint on their companies. If Mods Nation is your fingerprint on car culture, what is Arvian Bauhaus the fingerprint on?
You know, um, uh, I worked in the film industry, and I know many Hollywood actors. And uh, one time Keanu Reeves was telling the story how he started Arch motorcycles brand. And he was talking to his friend, uh, a really great designer, motorcycle designer. And Keanu knows really like motorcycles really, really well and has a great taste. And his friend kind of was not convinced to start a real big brand. And then Keanu said, "Well, listen, how about we will start the motorcycle brand?" And his friend said, "Why should we do that?" And then Keanu said, he said, we're probably gonna die, you know, and how about we will start a car company? Isn't it fun? And it kind of like landed in my head in a way because I said, can we make a change? A little might be positive change, but maybe we'll overlive ourselves. It kind of sounds fun. And I said, yeah, that would be cool. Wouldn't be to start a car company, not just a dealership, but actually, custom car company, and maybe it will last longer. So why not? Something like that.
Not definitely. You're listed as a founder, not explicitly CEO in the press release. Titles or claims. Is CEO a title you have claimed or avoided or grown into? What does a word CEO mean to you that founders does not capture?
Well, CEO, it's mostly, do I have my hands on the project all the time? It has benefits and it has certain, challenges because when you operate all the hands in, sometimes you need to create a little bit time to step back and look the entire picture. So that's a little challenge, but and that's the difference because maybe from operational point of view, maybe it would be great maybe to step aside and let the professional CEO to run the company and focus more on the larger scale picture. But there's a saying about what every startup it's like has like about like 5-7 years. It's kind of like a plane. What takes off, then for some time it's flying in the clouds, and then it or goes down or it goes above, right? So, and I think that's kind of like that time for me as well. When you know I know so many aspects of this business, but I cannot really let it you know in someone's hands. So for me, it's like more like I know what exactly is happening and I know what choices need to be made. So for me, SEO it's more like operational focus, but from the combination of those two, it's a little bit challenging because you a little bit too deep. You're a little bit too deep in the problem, and then sometimes I have my like 5-10 minutes every morning saying, "Can I zoom out? Just let me move back. Let me see what's going on." And it happens a lot at at in any industry and any profession, even the painters. Sometimes they paint a picture, and just to get the fresh eye, sometimes they look at their own picture in the mirror. So it changes perspective, and they have a fresh look and whatever they're working on. So this is the challenge, and that's the kind of like founder. It's a strategical work, and CEO it's operational. But at the moment of the startup, if you expert in the field, if you understand the business side really well and the subject, like today it calls subject experts, and if you're subject expert, it's not really the time to let it go. So yeah, unfortunately, it's very hard to combine these two roles. But unfortunately, for any startup, I believe they should really hold it tight because things happen at at the really really rapid speed sometimes, and you should make immediate decisions for the company. And I think for the founder, no one will ever work with you for you as you would for yourself, right? So I think it's kind of like, at that scale for sure, because this is my babies, this is my and like I it's not about money, it's not about business. I don't really care about any of that. It's about like I built something what change people lives and experience and business for better, and I treat them as my kids, in that sense, and I cannot let them go yet. Let them go a little bit, let them go to the college, and then maybe.
So, Mr. Pete, you walk into rooms and ask people to fund a vision of unifying car culture through AI and 3D scans. What is the question you were most afraid they would ask you? And when you finally heard it, how do you answer?
You know, hard to say. Would I scared of some questions or worried about them, because both of those projects result of love, and I mean it in a way. What I really love what I built, and when you truly love someone or something, you're ready to talk about them all the time, nonstop, with anyone. Share the happiness, right? So I would say there's no moment existed when I were to talk about something, or because absolutely nothing can stop me from doing what I'm doing. And therefore, no, I think I never had such an experience, because maybe in situations when you don't love something, I guess I could easily see how that happens. But when you're mad in love in what you do, yeah, I can talk about that all the time and answer any questions. And if I have any challenges, I just wake up and I'm looking forward to these challenges, because if I don't have any challenges, I'm probably dead, right? So yeah, no, I don't think I ever had such an experience.
Very well said, Mr. Peter. Very well said indeed. But before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people, because my abstract essay is already in sixth season, abstract poetry in third season, and of course, my book one review in a sixth season as well. Comedy 101 fourth season, Food 101 in sixth season as well, Geography 101, Love Letters, Movie 101 review, Music 101, our fifth season, Science 101, Sex 101 in its fourth season, and my baby podcast, Trivia 101, Motivation 101, Spiritual Awakening, Mental Health 101, Law 101, Entrepreneurship 101, and of course, Coaching 101 and Bible Verses 101. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So, Mr. Pete, the Bauhaus existed for only 14 years, yet the influence radiates a century later. ModsNation may last 14 years for 4.0, but 100 years from now, someone encounters the name Pete Polyakov is connected with the words Mods Nation or Arvion Bauhaus. What do you hope they understand about what they are trying to build? Not a product, but the intention behind it.
Well, for me, I don't really thinking about my own name and how that would whatever I build. I would only look from the perspective, if in 100 years whatever I build will help people, and or make them just happy, because cars, for many people it is source of happiness, and sometimes
Yes.
just the emotional outlet. And if we build something what will bring happiness or joy or calmness in 100 years, I think it would be great. So that's my best outcome, what I would see in 100 years.
Very well said, Mr. Pete. Very well said indeed. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your business, your
Absolutely.
advocacy, or wherever you projects that you're doing right now?
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me today.
Yeah, so where do people can reach you, Mr. Pete?
Well, at ModsNation.com and ArvionBauhaus.com. If we'll welcome you guys at any time, anywhere.
Yes, people support Mr. Pete Polyakov, because if you support him, for sure, more and more empowering cars will rise. I have one more question, Mr. Pete. We have the Mods Nation story documented, but Arvion Bauhaus is too many of us unwritten. What is the origin of the name? What does Arvion carry, and what does Bauhaus commit you to?
Well, I'm a designer, and also I spent a lot of years in advertisement, and for me it was really important what the name of the brand and the sound will be unique enough and catchy enough. So it was like more like production of the of the design and the sound. There's no real meaning behind that, but there's a certain associations what can it can create. So there's no name, it's none of that, but I'm German, so that it's a little maybe connection because it's a German word. So that's all.
Yeah, so Mr. Pete, Dankeschön, indeed. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Modica people, see you soon.